stream? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, but she's still. Matt just signed back in.
Yes. What?
Oh, Jesus Christ! What happened?
Is there something going on with the internet? What's the sound for leopards?
There's a.
Okay.
Love lives here. When the world gets you down and you're feeling lonely, when you can't find your truth or find your center, there are many here who gather together. Oh, unconditionally, we love each other, and the scars that we see just make us stronger. We breathe it in together, we'll hold you up with grace. We know that love lives here in you and me. Love lives here. My soul breaks free. I'm so excited to be united with you. Where love lives, where love lives. When life gets you down, you can't see the future. When it all seems too much for you to handle, there are many here who gather together. Oh, unconditionally, we pray together, and the hurt that you feel will be set free. We breathe it in together, we'll hold you up with grace. We know that love lives here in you and me. Love lives here. My soul breaks free. I'm so excited to be united with you. Where love lives, where love lives. Love lives here in you and me. Love lives here. My soul breaks free. I'm so excited to be united with you. Where love lives, where love lives. Love lives here.
Hey there. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Jeffrey K. Aloha Ryan, and it is my distinct honor and pleasure to serve this beloved community where love lives here. I am delighted that you are signing in and joining us this morning at our new start time of 10 a.m. for our summer conversation series that we had kicked off last week. This month, we are talking about unchained spirituality. And We have a wonderful guest with us this week. It's ministerial intern Tammi Lambert will be joining us in just a few minutes for a wonderful conversation around the topic of none are free until all are free. So it is so great to see you. Good morning, Pastor Julie. I'm excited that you're joining us from, I believe you're still in Riverside. Maybe you're in Visalia now, but good morning. Great to see you. Glad you're with us. Good morning, Neil. Good morning, Allison. So great to see you. And, you know, everybody just go ahead and sign in there. Let us know where you're visiting from or where you're signing in from, where you're joining us from. Put your name and good morning there. And that's great to see you. So I am so grateful that you are here, and we're going to get things started with a new song for our opening. And Jubel, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and come on in. Hey, good morning, Jubel. Here you go.
Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. I missed you all. Happy Sunday. My friend Manuel is playing drums for me. I wish you could see him. I'm so happy to have him here. We are slowly opening back up with our band. And so this is called One Big Family by Gary Floyd. So if you know it, you need to sing along, right? Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everyone you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we are to be. We are love, we are one, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. One more time, here we go. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light in everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who we've come to be. We are love, we are one, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. Here we go. Let us be a joyful sound. Oh, he was down on holy ground. Let us see a joyful sound. Here we are on holy ground. Oh, yeah. And everybody, get up on your feet. See the light of everyone you meet. Everybody, get up on your feet. See the light of everybody you meet. Let us be reminded of who you ought to be. We are love, we are one, we are one big family. Hey, hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, hey, last one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good morning. 6. One people living in one planet, joining as one family. We are all one. One people living in one planet, joining as one family. We all are one. One people living in one planet, joining as one family. We all are one. One people living in one planet, joining as one family. We all are one. We all are one. We all are one.
Good morning. I'm Constance Stringfellow, one of your licensed spiritual practitioners here at the Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And let's just breathe in God, breathe in love, breathe in peace. Let's go to that special place where God is. God is the one power, the one presence, the one truth, one divine energy. This energy I call God. I know that God is perfect peace. God is love, wholeness. God is divine intelligence. God is beauty and abundance. God is compassion, clarity, order. God is wholeness and wisdom. But God is so much more than this. I'm one with all that God is. And as I know this truth for myself, I know this is true for everyone, everywhere. We're all connected in unity with the one power. This divine energy radiates in, through, and around all things seen and unseen. What if we surrender to this divine energy, carefully listening to this inner voice, this truth? As we listen in the quiet, let's be willing to be an instrument of peace, welcoming every opportunity to use the principles of freedom. What if we rise above lack, limitation, false thinking, bondage, disease, and separation? What if we realize and use this power within that is greater than all of us? What if we really understand that there's only one power moving through all of us? The power of unity, the power of oneness. Let's not allow any mistakes to rob us of our birthright. Freedom's purpose is to live unbounded from anyone or anything. Freedom is harmony, and freedom is understanding the truth, and the truth will set us free. Stand firm in knowing that there's no situation that's beyond God's ability to change or make better. So as we experience human conditions, none of us are free until all of us are free. Affirm the spiritual truth. Set yourself free from fear and doubt, knowing that God is right here, right now, loving, comforting, and guiding us to our best and to the highest good for all living beings. I speak my word with confidence, with faith, with courage and compassion, and with wisdom, even in these challenging times. Knowing and embracing these truths, we are all one. As a child of God, we live freely to live our divine purpose in a world that works for everyone. And I'm so grateful. I bless this service. I bless our guests. I know that these words have power, and I just let it be so. And so it is.
So good to me. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Hi, everybody. This is called Good, So Good to Me. Hope you enjoy it. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. I'm feeling down with my soul, God is so good. Feeling down in my soul, God is so good. Feeling down in my soul, God is so good. My God is so good to me. me. You can sing it with me. In my meditation is God is so good. In my meditation, oh, God is so good. In my meditation now, God is so good. My God is so good to me. One more time. On my morning singing, God is so good. When the day is over, I said, God is so good. When my day is over, God is so good. My God is so good to me. When my day is over, God is so good. In my time of triumph, oh, God is so good. In my time of triumph, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Here we go. My God is so good to me. My God is so good to me.
Good morning once again. Thank you, Jabel. Thank you, Constance. I know we're having some trouble there once again with the sound from the center. My apologies to everyone. We are working on it. Matt is trying to figure it out from behind the scenes there. So we're trusting that everything unfolds and is continuing to unfold in divine right order and divine right timing as it should. So thank you all. So thank you for joining us, everybody. This, like I said, it is the second Sunday in July. We are working with our monthly theme of Unchained Spirituality, and we are talking today with Tammi Lambert about none of us are free until all of us are free. But before we bring Tammi in and we start this wonderful conversation, I do want us to come together and let us breathe life and let us really speak the word of our focus statement into existence, shall we? So here we are. Let's do this together. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Say it one more time. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. So many of you will remember Tammi. Tammi was with us last year. And so let me just refresh your memories as to who this beloved is that is joining us this morning. So Tammi Lambert is a practitioner and ministerial intern at Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She is an enrolled member of the Jicarilla Apache Nation in New Mexico, but she grew up here in Southern California and spent much of her teen and young adult years in Riverside and in San Bernardino County. She earned a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of New Mexico in 1996, and then earned her Juris Doctorate from the same institution in 1999. And she focused on federal Indian law. Tammi has been a licensed attorney in New Mexico for 20 years, has been the head of a state office, and was a policy advisor to the state governor as well as tribal governors. She has successfully lobbied for legislation on a federal, state, and local levels. She is currently the presiding judge for a Native American tribe in New Mexico. Her personal commitment is to create a world that is powerfully conscious and transforming itself in every area of life, including government, courts, the private sector, and any other area where there is a potential for making a positive difference. So please give Tammi a warm Riverside Center for Spiritual Living welcome, and welcome Tammi Lambert. Yay, Tammi.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Good morning, Reverend Jeffrey.
Good. How are you? We're going to turn up our volume on it here over here so I can hear you better. There we go. Hi.
All right.
Hi. So it's so great to see you. Great. Thank you for being with us this morning.
It's always good to see you all, and I just love the Riverside community. It feels like home.
Thank you. So this topic that we have today is none of us are free until all of us are free. And I when I was contemplating this topic and, thinking about who I would love to chat with about this particular topic, your name immediately came to mind, because you are walking in the world as a religious person, as a ministerial intern with Centers for Spiritual Living, and yet you also walk in the world as a judge for a Native American tribe there in New Mexico. Right. And then you walk in the world with all these other very beautiful intersectionalities. And so I was like, this is the perfect topic. I would love to hear what Tammi has to say about none of us are free until all of us are free. So why don't we start there? What does that phrase mean for you?
Well, it speaks to oneness. And the thing is that whenever we talk about oneness, it's always the ultimate answer of any science of mind question. It's always, when I was in law school, they used to have an answer. The answer in law school was always, it depends. And the answer in science of mind is always oneness, right? There's one answer and it's oneness. So the question is, what do we do with the oneness and how do we relate to it? And how do we deal with race consciousness that has in this country a background of some rather dismal oppression? So how do we not do a spiritual bypass and still be in a space of talking about oneness and still deal with the broken leg that America seems to be showing up with right now? So the idea of we're not free until all are free is a testament to the conversation that we're all inherently connected. But the thing is that many of us are not experiencing freedom. Sometimes in America, people think that being free means being left alone to do whatever you want. And that's not actually what I mean by freedom. What I mean is by freedom is not just the temporal contemporary experience, but a true freedom of the spirit and a true freedom of the soul and a true freedom of the body. But we have these circumstances right now that do not appear that way, right? So when we say when some are, if one is not free, all is not free, what that means to me is that we just have our work ahead of us. I also am very interested in this phrase, we are brought into this kingdom for such a time as this. It's from the book of Esther. And, you think about who we are as beings. We were created or evolved or somehow we're here having this human experience. You consider, 1,000 million years of the cosmos evolving to this moment right here. And the miracle it is to be a spiritual being having this human experience. And while I'm having this experience, I am brought here into this time to do the soul development that is brought to me by these social constructs. In other words, I am here right now as whatever I'm made up to be, for a specific dharmic purpose, and it is divine. And if I want to know what my purpose is, I just have to look around me. Right. And now I'm a strange fellow. I'm an expert at being an outsider. So I'm African American, I'm Native American, I'm married to a woman, I'm getting older, I have all these unique differences. And what I do with those differences is that they inform, because I'm always at the right place at the right time. And I'm always the one that was called to be there to cause something profound. So I look to all of the things that are showing up in my life at all times. And I know that I am the right answer. I am Spirit's answer to this moment. So when I look around me and I see that people are not free, it brings to me my personal responsibility, my purpose for being in this pinprick of eternity right now. And it opens me up to the perennial question of what is mine to do, knowing that who I am and what I bring is perfect in every moment. So if I'm free, then my sole purpose is to contribute to the freedom of the people around me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I think that's really important that, if we turn within first and we experience our freedom first, that it comes back to that oneness and it comes back to remembering who we are and really the truth of our being. And then it's an opportunity then to express that freedom, to express that truth out into the greater world and to bring well, kind of to be a way shower or a light bearer, if you will, to really lift the consciousness and lift people around us to show them what's possible. You know, like we say, we embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. When we say that, we're saying that about ourselves, that we're emboldening ourselves, but also from that place of groundedness, that we're aiding others in emboldening themselves to live their highest potential as well. So I'm curious, with you being a minister or almost minister, I can't wait to see that REV in front of your name. But you're already doing great ministry in the world already. You have been for so long. But how do you bring your ministerial consciousness to your work as a judge for the Native American tribe that you serve, the Pueblo that you serve?
Well, consciousness can't be compartmentalized. So wherever I am is wherever, however, and whoever I am. So it's unavoidable. But the question becomes one of what I'm buying into. And so one of the things that's been real useful is the ability to say, I am in this role, but I'm in the world and not of it. Right? So I'm in this role. It doesn't define me or create who I am. I am the creator. The creator is divining through me. And so whatever I am putting my hand to is absolutely blessed. Right? So when I sit as a judge, one of the things that I bring is I'm always a practitioner. So when I listen to defendants or when I listen to people who are struggling with, family issues or probate issues, my intention is to always approach that from the space of being a practitioner, meaning I see the God in you. I see the God in you as a human being that is struggling with this particular path, and you have an obstacle in front of you. And so my job is to listen to you as that divine being and also see that, we all have our different paths. And one of the things that's shown up a lot is, we think about the criminal justice system. And, how do I say, and someone asked me, how do you sit as a judge and, as a practitioner and put people in jail? And I'm like, hey, you know what? There's a divine peace and divine order, and there's no peace without order. But it's not my intent to punish people, because I understand from a spiritual point of view that everyone is on their own lesson. The divine creator is not out there to punish me. And so I, as an expression of divine creator, am not out there to punish others. I will set limits, however. And one of the things that I've noticed is that people are often, I started noticing in my criminal issues that I kept putting people in jail for violating probation and parole terms. And it was because they were struggling with drug and alcohol issues that had not been addressed. And when you look at the incarceration in the country, if you look at, for example, even African-American incarceration rates, which are like 5 to 1 of white folks, you look at, there's often this whole background of drugs and drug dealing and drug possession and all of this. And I thought, this is a product of historical trauma. This is not bad people. These are people who are dealing with what we are all dealing with, which is the historical oppression in this country that has been designed to oppress the spirit as well as the body. Yeah. And so when I see people presenting with this issue, my response is to get them into treatment. So we wrote a lot of grants, and we started a healing to wellness court, which is basically a holistic approach to surrounding people with services, having a multiple disciplinary team that surrounds the person to where they're getting service. They're getting service to death. They're just getting, and everyone in the community is surrounding them with these services. And so what that did was it showed us that in our Native communities, that we're not kind of like the broader community where everyone can just be put in jail and thrown away. Because every single member of the tribe, every single member of the community is inherently valuable, and they can't be replaced. So having them surrounded with services, we're committed to the restitution of the restoration of who they are, because we know who they are. And so having this community has absolutely created an ability to cause a healing to wellness, which is the name of the court. Instead of sending people to jail for drug possession, we're bringing them back into the arms of the community. And then what that does is it changes the listening of the community for that person because the community has invested in them. It also changes the person's experience of themselves and their experience of the criminal justice system. Now, there are times where people will just, blow it off, and I have to set a hard limit. But it's not my intention to put people in jail forever, and if someone has to be pretty violent for them to go there for long. If someone's willing to address the issues of domestic violence or substance or drug abuse, or maybe they need counseling, we're going that way first. And so it isn't what I see in some of the state and federal systems. We're talking about punishing and throwing people away. We're actually focused on, we see the God in you, and we are standing for you to see the God in you. And it also starts to involve the community, who then has to relate to that person differently as well. So there's a healing all around. And so that's kind of the beauty of working in a tribal community, is that there's an experience of community.
Beautiful. And that really speaks to a lot of the principles that we teach here as well. That it's when we approach things, that it's more from a restorative place rather than a punitive place, right?
Right.
So can you say a little bit more about the restorative justice system that you are part of there in New Mexico?
Mm-hmm. Well, the community that I work in is a small community, but we also are surrounded by other tribes and pueblos who are facing similar issues. And so what we do the same approach on whether or not someone's a member of the tribe or another member of the tribe. The restorative is, as I mentioned, it's the idea that someone is already whole, perfect, and complete. And that what we're doing is we're bringing their realization of that to their mind. And one of the ways that we are doing that is we have counseling, and we have, a lot of different step programs, and there are things that are we're looking for culturally appropriate services. One of the things that has been showing up as a modality is also mindfulness as a way to approach sobriety. And so mindfulness, we know it as meditation, but secular mindfulness, it attacks the same parts of the brain or impacts the same part of the brain as spiritual mindfulness. And so what we're doing is we're actually committed to people knowing who they are. And so what we've done is we've created that the actual courtroom is a healing place. It's not a punitive place. There are limits, and we will enforce orders, but that doesn't mean that our focus is on finding someone wrong. We're more interested in finding a space of healing. Now, people are all at different stages of their realization of that. But restoration means, it doesn't mean fixing someone. It doesn't mean making them better. It's a return to their own divinity. And because we're a tribal community, that one community that I'm working in does have those same values, we're able to focus more on restoration and safety. Now, there are times where people do need safe spaces. For example, domestic violence victims may need safe spaces and all of that. We will follow all those rules, but we will also be looking to having people engage in more treatment and therapy and things like that. Sometimes there are things that need to be done to restore the community physically. Sometimes you have low-level crimes like vandalism and things like that. And we engage with the tribal leaders and have the people, restore it. There was one young man, he was a teen, and he was tagging the skating park. And, we had him engaged with, he had to work to pay for the money for the paint. And then he was overseen by a tribal leader as he, got that work restored. And what that did was it not only had him be fiscally responsible for it, he was physically responsible for it. And then he connected with someone in the community who then had an interest in a relationship with him. And so that's an example of restorative, where this could have been a gateway crime that could have led to a young man being engaged in a system. And what it actually did was it ended up connecting him with community on a deeper level.
Right. So that's really beautiful. I mean, it's so beautiful to see how a different approach, how approaching things from a wholeness perspective and bringing this young man back into kind of an awareness of who he truly is, and then connecting him with the community, in such a way of being able to take responsibility for his actions. Because what we know is that when we take responsibility, right, then we have that it empowers us to make other choices, right? Yeah. And that also, when we take responsibility for ourselves, then there's also some freedom that comes with that as well, because we're freeing ourselves from those limitations that maybe we've bought into, personally bought into some of those limitations and lack. And it's so beautiful to hear you talk about how the community really comes together, and that it's a restoration, not just of the individual, but of the community as well. And that everything is rooted in wholeness, and that it's about reminding the individual of their wholeness and seeing their wholeness there, and then calling them back to that, and then engaging the community for the community then to, provide that wraparound and provide that interest and provide that connection, because connection is so important, right? With all of this, it's that deeper connection that we have with one another when we recognize that all of us are inherently one, going back to your oneness, that all of us are inherently one, so that there is no separation, that there is no otherizing. And so then when we come to that idea that there is no otherizing, there is no other, then the whole approach shifts, doesn't it?
It does. And, the thing that came up for me was inside of the otherizing, we've noticed that sometimes families need support in being able to re-see the person who's been the defendant. They may have dealt with that person's relapses or their continual, entry into the system. And so it's interesting that not only is it the person that needs to be healed, it's the community who has had to shift and do some spiritual, actual, and psychological movement to be able to do that. And so sometimes we offer, counseling or other services to family members as well. Well, I think that's true in almost any context. You have the person who has been feeling victimized and oppressed, and you have the person who's been on the other end of that, who may have done the victimizing or oppression. And both sides have to engage in that healing. And so it's kind of a spiritual bypass to say, oh, you victim or you community member have to do the healing, or just the defendant doing the healing. And you look at it in a wider social context. You look at people, there's a lot of Black Lives Matter conversations, and there are a lot of issues with race and over imprisonment of people of color. And it's like, who has to be the one to do the healing in this matter? And it's everybody, right? And that's what, the whole theme of this is, how can one be free if all are not free? And so it doesn't matter what end of the spectrum we are all on. There's actually no end and no beginning, because we're all in this cosmic soup together. And so as long as one person is engaging in healing, we actually, I believe that we create an kind of like an alchemy of healing that can reach out to others. And you had talked earlier about, doing our own spiritual work and then going out into the community and doing it as well. I believe that those two things have to happen hand in hand. That I cannot do my own spiritual cleansing and healing and purification and my spiritual development without also reaching into your hand and doing it with you as well. Sometimes people think we do our spiritual process on our own and I'm fine, so, I try not to, I ignore the world, right? When in actuality, my process is not complete if yours is not, yes. Right? And that's what I mean about we are brought into this time for such a time as this. I'm put into this little cosmic soup right now. And sometimes the soup is a little bitter, right? And so what is my job? Well, my job is wherever I am to cause a divine light to operate through me, and I surrender to it until that I can cause the rest of the sweetening of that soup, rather than just focusing inward. And I think that can be a rather narcissistic point of view, but sometimes we think that that's our job, is to mind our own business and ignore the world, which I think is a dereliction of our spiritual duty. I think that the oneness does mean that we're all in it together.
Absolutely. You and I had talked last week about collective karma versus individual karma. Can you, and from an Ernest Holmes perspective, can you share with our folks here more about that?
Yes, well, karma isn't a word that you see used a lot in Science of Mind, but Ernest Holmes did use it, and he said we have a collective and an individual karma. And that inside of the idea of race consciousness, like as in the human race consciousness, that we are all, that there is a record or an energy form that's all things that have ever happened and all things that are happening now. And it's all kind of like rolling down this big river highway of race consciousness, unless we're actually like taking effort to transmute ourselves out of that flow. We're rolling along with everybody else, right? So it takes an active, self-aware, higher thought to transmute ourselves out of that flow. Well, right now, the flow of America has been pretty dismal. The flow of America has been oppression. It's been, greed and hatred. And there's just, I can go into delineating it. We all know how ugly it has been. And as a, woman of color, a woman, a Black, Native, lesbian person, you can imagine I can like go down with a bunch of histories. And I'm sure so many people have their own stories and histories of that. And that is in the race consciousness of humanity in this country, if not in this world. So there is a karma of this country that is rolling down that river. And so what does it take for us to elevate and transmute ourselves out of that flow? And it takes the divine presence of oneness, this divine presence that we invoke to lift ourselves out of that karma, because karma is never about punishment. Karma is about, you're going to keep repeating the cycle until you learn the lesson. So how do we learn that lesson? One of the first things we do in learning that lesson is acknowledging that there's something to learn, right? So I'm always quoting Guy Williams, one of our professors, who says, you can't heal what you can't acknowledge. So acknowledging that something has been very wrong in this country and continues to be, right? And we can go into it. We can look at what's going on with with the deportation. We can look at what's going on with immigration. We can look at what's going on with Black Lives Matter. We can look at the racism and the Confederate flags. And it's the flow of race consciousness. What does it take for us to learn the lesson? First step, acknowledge that something is not right. I say not right because by right, I mean the highest divine intention for who we are is in divine beings. So if we can acknowledge this flow, instead of being, oh, I'm colorblind and I don't see your color and there's nothing wrong and I'm going to ostrich about it. If we can acknowledge that something is not right and has not been and does not match the highest divine intention for who we are, then we can start to learn the lesson of it, identify any pieces in us that would have bought into that flow, and then we can transmute the energies to a different and higher plane. We do this with our prayer, our meditation, our soul searching, our prayer treatments, our constantly being in classes and learning and evolving so that we're on a different higher plane. And as we start to be who we are here, we energize and magnify that, and we draw people to us who are also seeking that higher level of consciousness. And we become that, we are that, we draw that, we attract that, we bring the law of attraction to what it actually is, which is divine high intention. So we transmute the energy. And when we're able to do that, we're able to cause a shift out of this low energy, the shadow of America, and we're able to cause who we really are in this divine perfection. So the karma of this country is going to keep rolling down that river. But the karma, we can jump out of that. We can do a cosmic shift out of that with our highest intention and our higher level vibration. So we stop the karmic cycle by learning the lesson. So in that way, it's almost, I would argue, it's impossible to do your spiritual work just for you, because our job is to lift it, right? And and there's no middle ground. There's no, oh, I'm just hiding out with racism and sexism and I'm neutral. There's no neutral. You're either rolling down the racist river or you're an anti-racist and you're causing a shift in consciousness. And there's no middle ground. People think there is, but the status quo is so organized in this country around oppression that it takes a cosmic leap to get out of it. We need a quantum shift, and that's what we're causing right now.
Absolutely. And I think we're really poised here at Centers for Spiritual Living to do that with the way we approach life, the way we approach spirit, the way we approach, our own humanity, but also our own divinity and the oneness. And so it really does, speak to not just our own personal call as spiritual beings, but our collective responsibility as spiritual beings, our collective responsibility as those of us who attend Centers for Spiritual Living, who follow, this new thought wisdom, or, this ancient wisdom and new thought, that's really why we exist. As you said, at times such as this, that I really think that this is a time for Centers for Spiritual Living to really step forward, and all of us who affiliate with Centers for Spiritual Living to really step forward and be willing to engage our work and recognize that we do not do this work in isolation, that we do it for the collective whole. And in so doing, as we transmute those energies, as you're saying, I love that you say transmute rather than transform, because transform is maybe like shifting the form of something, but transmuting it is moving beyond form into consciousness. As we transmute that, then we then begin to free ourselves, and then we call others into that with us, and then we are free, and then we can engage again with systems to make those changes that are absolutely necessary to be made for all of us.
You're so right. One of the things that someone once told me, and they meant it as an insult, and I've actually thought about it, and I kind of like it. They said you're a big fish in a small pond. And I thought, maybe it's time for everybody to be a big fish in their small pond. Like, what would it take for me to be a huge presence in wherever I am in this moment, and whatever small pond I happen to be in, right? What would it take for me to be a big fish? Right? And where am I playing myself small? Where am I saying, oh, I'm just one person, I can't change the world, I can't make a difference? No, be the biggest fish, outgrow that pond, right? Because you'll find there is no pond. There's just consciousness that thinks it's small, right? And the consciousness expands, and we realize that we are the blue whales of the ocean, right? And that it's just getting bigger and bigger, and so are we. And so I'm like, in the place where you are right now, there is something that needs you, right? There is something that needs uniquely you. And that's one of the things I love about Science of Mind, is it says that we have this ability, who we are right now is profound, perfect, and it's exactly what is needed. There is like a need in the world, and you are it in the space you are, because that's why you're there, right? It's circular, but it works for me, right? Because I'm like, okay, I'm here right now, right? I'm African American, but I'm also Native American, right? So my minor in college in political science was African American studies, but in law school, I focused on federal Indian law, and I put those together, and I start seeing totalities of circumstances and trends, and I borrow from one to take to the other, and it all works, right? Is there anything special about me? No. Is there anything special about me? Yeah, because I'm here. Right? This is my moment. And so it just means that I stop looking at the rest of the world to come up with a solution. And I know that even if it's in pulling in my neighbor's garbage cans, there's something for me to do right here. And that is my spiritual practice. My spiritual practice is not just my prayer and my meditation and my spiritual mind treatment, my reading, my contemplation. My spiritual practice is out in the world.
Absolutely.
And so we all have that.
Yeah. Thank you. So in the chat, what I'd love to see happen right now is I'd love for you to, or in the comment section, I'd love for you to go ahead and everybody go ahead and put in, what is yours to do? What is your big whale? How are you the big fish in your little pond? And embrace your big fishness. I don't care what kind of fish it is. Maybe it's a marlin, who knows? Maybe it's a carp, koi, I don't know. But embrace your big fishness. And so what is yours to do right now? What can you do today? I mean, Tammi just mentioned pulling in her neighbor's garbage cans, that too is spiritual practice. So go ahead and be putting those comments there into the comment box there, and we'll come back to those in a few minutes. But right now, what I'd like to do first is say thank you, Tammi. This has been so beautiful and so rich. I am so honored and blessed to call you friend, be walking this path with you, this path of ministry, this path of life. And what I would like for you, I would like to invite you to go ahead and do a spiritual mind treatment, also known as affirmative prayer, for our community today, please.
Absolutely. So I know that God is all there is. I know that there is a cosmic consciousness that has been with us throughout all time, for hundreds and thousands of millions of years, through all time, through all creation of time, through the creation of planets, through the creation of this planet, to the creation of all that is here. I know that this cosmic consciousness was always there. And I was with and one with that divine presence when all the worlds were made, when the stars were made, when all that is brought itself into being. I know that that divine consciousness is with me now and is as me now. And there can be no separation, no circumstance, no illusion that would separate me from this divine presence, because it is as I am. And I know that as I am one with this, I know that I am one with everyone here, that everyone with their attention and their awareness in this moment is in that oneness. And I just bring my attention to this correlation of this divine presence right now. In this oneness, I declare that all is well. In this oneness, I declare that any limitations that would seem to call us small, I declare that any limitations that would have us be limited and chained by circumstances, anything that would inhibit the divine expression just bursting forward from us, expressing itself as beauty and kindness and peace and power and love, joy, all of that. I know that this divine presence is right now living and expressing and bursting forth through each of us. And it is so joyful. I'm so grateful that every person here is aware of and experiencing this expansion of their heart, this expansion of their crown, this expansion of their space, of their voice in the world. And I call it good, knowing that it is perfect, it is now, it is forever. I declare this freedom for me, this freedom for all of us, this freedom that lives as liquid gold in power, that permeates everything that I am and spreads out and out into the world, into my home, into my neighborhood. From where I sit, it goes into the county, the state, the planet, the world, through all the universe. I know that this capacity to love and to provide and to be divine beauty and presence and love is unlimited. And so I just bless the world. I bless all of us. I bless all that is, knowing that who we are is divine and limitless. And so I declare our eyes open to see what there is to see, to know what there is to know exactly what there is for me to do. What is there exactly for each of us to do? I call it perfect. And in this space, I declare it whole, healed, and one. I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for this love, for this moment, for this Riverside community. So grateful for our friends and our relationships. So grateful for all the good. And I call the good so. So with this gratitude, I release this word into the universal law, into the divine presence, into this subjective law that only says yes. And I know it is. And so it is.
Hi, everybody. This is called Standing as One from my sister from another Mr. Faith Rivera. I really love all her songs, and I hope I do it some justice. Love it if you would sing along, because I have no backup singers. Who are you, a child of light? expression of that light. When is the time? Right now, forever will be. Where inside of me, how standing as one. When I accept what I am, a child of light, we are standing as one for humanity. When you accept you are an expression of that light, we will stand as one for humanity. When we accept whatever right now has been, whatever will be, we will stand as one for humanity. When you accept whatever is happening right now inside of you, we will stand as one for humanity. When you accept yourself as you are, you will be the change. You will are the change. Let us be the change. Standing as one. One. Standing as one. When we accept that I am the child of light, we will stand as one for humanity. You accept who you are, an expression of that light. We will stand as one for humanity. When we accept whatever is now, forever will be. We will stand as one for humanity. When you accept what is happening right now inside of you, we will stand as one for humanity. When you accept yourself as you are, you will be the change. Can you be the change? Let us be the change. Standing as one. Standing as one. Standing as one. Standing as one. When you accept yourself as you are, will be the change, for you are the change. Let us be the change.
Thank you, Jabal. So I really want to thank all of you once again for your generosity, for your continuous conscious contributions of Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. I say it every week, but I mean it every single week. It is just so beautiful to see the way this community, our community, Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, is really stepping in and leaning into fulfilling our vision of a world that works for everyone in all of creation, and fulfilling our mission of emboldening people to live their highest potential. It is amazing to see weekly your conscious contributions just continue to come in, continue to flow. And I am so grateful that all of you are so willing to step into the flow of life and to give and to contribute so generously, so that we as a community, as Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, can continue to affect change out into the world and can continue to lift and inspire, can continue to do the work of liberation, the work of freedom that we have all been collectively called to do. So one of the easiest ways for you to contribute is to, of course, text. You can do text to give. Simply go to 951-419-5858, type in the amount there, and then hit send. And that is an easy way to give. You can also give through our website. Go to riversidecsl.org, and in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you will see the word contribute, and you can just press on that, and it's an easy way to contribute there. So you can contribute one time, or you can set it up for recurring contributions, and all of it is wonderful and all of it is beautiful. So let me just do mine right here. Send. Okay, and there it is. So nice and easy. So again, thank you for your generosity. And we've got a song here, and then I'll come back with a few final words before we move on.
Ready? Here we go.
Just a couple of things here just to finish off with. I want to remind you that Tammi will be joining us for Beyond the Message, a conversation that's happening on Zoom right after we sign off here. So the Zoom ID number is 249-395-737. That's 249-395-737. And you can always go to our website, riversidecsl.org. And right there on the front page of the website, there is a link there. All you got to do is just click it. It's just one click and you're straight on through. So once again, that is 249-395-737. I'd like to invite Tammi back in so we can all say hi to Tammi and thank Tammi for being with us this morning. Thank you, Tammi.
It's fun to chat with you. Thank you.
So repeat after me, folks. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called love.
It is this thing called love.
Love is in my mind.
Love is in my mind.
Love is in my body.
Love is in my body.
Love is in everything I do.
Love is in everything I do.
I am it.
I am it.
I share it.
I share it.
And I receive it.
And I receive it.
Because love lives here.
Here.
Thank you, everybody. Love you all. Peace and blessings. We'll see you over on Zoom in just a moment.
All right, this is I Sing My Love, and we're going to disco it out.